What's up, everybody? My name is Parasite. Welcome back to the Jose Mourinho Challenge with Sporting. Today we take on Porto in the Supertaca. We have completed the offseason, and oh wait, you read the title? Don't worry, you didn't read it wrong. I'm not being facetious or anything like that. Look at our balance. Look at our transfer budget. We have legitimately sold a player for $200 million. And that's not total sales of 200 million. That is one single player sold for $200 million. And it actually gets better because not only did we sell him for $200 million, we also had a 50% of next sale clause in the transfer. So we'll get 200 million and half of whatever he gets sold on for. You would think a player that gets sold for $200 million, if he does move on again, it's going to be at least $100 million, unless they make just an absolutely tragic loss. So that's another $50 million, a $250 million sale. And I'm sure you're wondering who it is. It's probably not the first player that came to your mind. I'm assuming that would be Benjamin Sesko. Being a striker, they're typically valued a little bit higher, being one of the best young strikers in the game. But it wasn't Benjamin Sesko. It was Icelandic midfielder turned to left back, Isaac Bergman Johannesson. He has been sold on to Manchester City for $200 million. A left back for $200 million. Obviously, I didn't really want to sell him. I didn't go into this transfer window thinking I was going to sell a player, especially of that caliber. But when you get a bid like that, it's kind of hard to turn it down. So we have sold him. He's on $400K a week at Man City. I'm actually curious where they're going to play him. Obviously, he can play a lot of different positions. Mostly played left back for us, but is a natural in the midfield. He's good at right wing as well as an inverted winger or something like that. You would think paying $200 million he'd play at least midfielder or winger, but I do think he's really good at left back. So I'm actually curious to see if they'll actually play him there, because that's a lot for a left back if that's the case. So he's been sold on. The way it went down was, they've been interested in him for a while. Last season they came in with a couple bids, but never really got too significant. And then pretty much soon after the season ended, they came back in. They wanted him. They first came in around $63 million in total. I just rejected and moved on. I was not interested in selling him. And they just kept coming back. They really wanted him, obviously. So they came back at 70, they came back at 80, they came back at 90. When they came back at around, I think it was around 93 million, I was like, okay, I'm tired of this. I don't want to sell him. So I thought I'd just, throw out a stupid number to get him to back off. So I said, you know what? Give me $200 million and 50% of next sale. Locked him in, offered it out, and they accepted. I'm as shocked as you are. I did not expect that to happen. I thought they were going to be like, yeah, okay, no. But they were fine with it. So we sold him for $200 million. Which left me a pretty big hole. He was my left back. He was the guy I was planning on to be our left back for the foreseeable future. But now he's gone, so we have to make decisions. We've got a lot of money to work with. We've not quite made his replacement yet. We are in negotiations with him now. We've had a couple different options we were looking to get. When I agreed the fee, I looked immediately to the transfer market and found two pretty good options. Unfortunately, we weren't able to get either option. And then I found a couple more, and unfortunately we couldn't get them. So it's not ideal, but I do think we're going to be replacing him with a good player. Just not quite as good. So if we look at our short lists, these are the guys I really considered. Some of them didn't want to join, like David Alaba, like Vicente Ponzi, the regen left back for Barcelona, who's just nuts, who has a minimum fee release clause of 132 million, which I probably would consider hitting, but he didn't want to come. So these were the options we really had. The two I was really interested in were Ben Chilwell and Javi Galán. Chilwell being the first one I went in for. He's transfer listed. At that point, he was transfer listed for 30 million. He's only 30 years old, so he's got probably a good 4 or 5 years left in him of really good play. So $30 million, I was willing to do that. That was the issue, though. Wages. He's already on quite a bit of wages, and when we first went into negotiations with him, he wanted $300K. Our highest earner's on 120. I ain't doing that. I kind of went into it with the idea that the highest I would go, the absolute top dollar, would be 150. I didn't feel like I could go any higher than that. I feel like it'd be just putting this club in ruin if I went higher than that. So I locked in 150, gave him a bunch of different bonuses, like some pretty high bonuses, and he immediately rejected and was unwilling to negotiate. So he was not an option. Since then, I think Real Madrid's gone in for him, so more likely than not, we wouldn't have ended up getting him anyways, but he was the guy we wanted. But our backup option was Javi Galán, a pretty dang good left back. He is 32, but he's got 15 natural fitness. He's probably got at least 2-3 years left in him. And at the moment, at the time, he was affordable. When we sold Isaac, they were asking for 20 to 30 million for him. And his wages were pretty reasonable. But I wanted to wait until Isaac was fully sold. Because at that moment, I didn't believe it. I didn't believe it until I saw him in a Man City shirt. So I wanted to wait until he was sold to make a deal. So once Isaac was officially sold, I went in for Ben Chilwell. Once that didn't end up happening, I went to go in for Javi Galán. But the day before, he damaged his Achilles tendon. Literally, the day before I made the offer, the exact same day that Isaac was signed by Man City, he damaged his Achilles tendon. And to make it worse, he also signed a new contract. So now they want $91 million for him. He's not willing to negotiate because he just signed a new deal. So he became no longer an option. So then it was down to kind of these guys. The first two that I was considering were Ferland Mendy and Luka Netz. Ferland Mendy being a little bit older option, $32 million. Wages pretty reasonable, but this is the issue with him. He's 32, and they want $50 to $60 million. Even though I got $200 million in the bank, I can't pay $50 to $60 million for a 32-year-old left back. I just can't. At least one that's not, David Alaba levels. If David Alaba was 32 and they wanted that for him, I'd strongly consider it. But Ferland Mendy is no David Alaba. So I wasn't willing to do that. Luka Netz being maybe the most enticing option of all these, 24 years old. So he's got a lot of years left in him. $52 million, which is a lot, but considering we just sold a left back for $200, I think that'd be good business. But we ran into the same issue as Ben Chilwell. He wanted a lot of money. So he became not an option because I wasn't willing to give him that. He was already on like 190. I wanted to get him for 150. He wasn't interested at all. And then since then, he's signed a new contract, so he's not really going to us. So that left us with Angelino, Lucas Digne, and Omar Richards. And, looking at them, first thing I really did was eliminate Omar Richards. He's all right, but $34 million, kind of expensive. 29 years old, so he's not super young. Wages were reasonable, but he's also just not as good as the other two. Like, he's got some good physicals, but for the most part, his mentals aren't exceptional. His technicals aren't exceptional. And I would rather have somebody come in that's kind of a game changer. That could really be as good, I think, as Isaac. Because once he was gone, our long-term option became German Riviniera. Once we knew we couldn't get a guy like Ben Chilwell who could have for 4 to 5 years, and we knew we'd kind of have to go a little bit older, a little bit lesser. So Riviniera became the long-term option. I don't think he's good enough to start now, but so I wanted somebody to bring in that could start for the next at least 2 years, and it became between Angelino and Lucas Digne. Angelino, the much younger option, 4 years younger at 30 years old, but much more expensive. He's transfer listed by request. They want $41 million. I'm not really interested in doing that. I don't think he's good enough to justify $41 million. I'd put in a bid of 30. I'd go to 30, but I don't think I'd go any more. And I don't see them going down to 30. So Angelino kind of no longer became an option. So everything kind of settled on Lucas Digne. He's 34, but he's still really good. Like, his physicals haven't really dropped off at all. And really good mentals. Really good technicals. Like, if we compare him to Isaac. Let's go to Isaac, and so we can compare him. Like, they're different players, but one isn't really significantly better than the other. Like, Isaac, a much better dribbler, but Digne, a much better defender, which is not really something we've had at the left back position for a while since Nuno Mendes. And Lucas Digne, also a really good set piece guy. 16 free kick taking. So, yeah, if you look at that, like, the vision, obviously, Isaac's a really good passer. Passing's actually the same, but vision does go to Isaac. Some mentals kind of go in his favor, but nothing really significant. And physically, like, Isaac's a little bit better, and, Dean is likely to drop off a little bit as he gets 35, 36 years old. But if we can get 2 good years out of Lucas Dean, I think that might be, long enough for German Riviera to become a first-team caliber player. So I think Lucas Dean is the option. We've agreed to transfer. We have agreed to contract. The transfer fee is a little bit more than I'd like to spend, but considering we just got $200 million, I'm paying 10 for Lucas Dean with an extra 2.5 if he plays like 50 games. So I think that's reasonable. And his wage, 2 years, $70K a week. So yeah, I think Lucas Dean is the Isaac Bergman Johannesson replacement, at least in the short term. So I feel like, I don't know. Obviously, Isaac was one of my favorite players. I really liked Isaac. He was a big gamble we took. We just lost the best young left back in the game, Nuno Mendes. And we were desperate to replace him. And we chose Isaac, a guy that was a natural midfielder, wasn't great at left back, but we thought he could do a job. And he even exceeded my expectations. So I really liked him. But when you get an offer of $200 million and 50% sell on, you just can't turn it down. So he's gone. Lucas Dean looks like he's coming in. We've only made one other sale, and not a really significant one. It's actually in the end of last year, because it was pretty soon after the season ended. We sold Marco Konoseki to Brighton for $10 million. We bought him for $2 million, sold him on for $10 million. We've got Giovanni Herrazzo, who I wanted to give a lot of game time to this year, the young Colombian goalkeeper. And we've got Diego Quillay, the young Brazilian goalkeeper, to be a third option. And obviously, Novistich is still here. So we just didn't end up really needing Marco Konoseki. So to get a little bit of profit for him, thought it was some good business. And by the way, Isaac, if you can't remember how much we bought him for, we bought him for 15. Sold him for 200. That's some good business. No other sales though. Some loans out, just some regions that I want to give more game time to. And really no signings so far. Other than what looks like to be a Lucas Dean signing. Just some regions that we'd already agreed to sign. That I think I showed you last episode or the episode before. They've officially come in. And we've only signed really one player. And that is another region on a free transfer. Belgian attacker John de Smet. Not amazing now or really in terms of potential, but he was a free on 3.8K. So I had him on my radar. He became a free agent. I decided, you know what, might as well. There's no reason not to. So he's come in. So we haven't really done a lot of business, but I didn't really feel like we needed to. I think the fact that we've done so much business during the seasons, signing these kind of players during the season, getting them prepared for whenever they turn 18 to join the team. I've been doing it quite a bit. And that means, I didn't have everything to do in the offseason. Like, I'd already made most of the good signings that were available. So nothing new really came up. And so no signings were really made. So I'm sure you want to see us play a game. Well, don't worry, it's coming. But, we've got a new tactic, which we're going to be using. So I'm actually really looking forward to seeing it as well in a competitive match. We played it for the preseason. Unfortunately, we didn't play as many games in the preseason as I'd like. We set up a training camp in Brazil, and we could not establish any friendlies with any Brazilian teams. So I don't know what was going on there, but I literally couldn't establish a friendly with any teams other than my B team or this Serie D affiliate. So we only had 2 games in our training camp. We had 1 game before that against Real Madrid, which is, I wanted kind of more games like this. I wanted to test this tactic against, good European teams. We did it once and went pretty well. We beat Real Madrid 4-1. We played the 4-3-3. Played pretty much all the players that I showed you last episode that I was going to really hinge on as our main players going forward. Bruno Thiago got a hat trick. Benjamin Sesko got a goal. We beat Real Madrid 4-1, and it wasn't an absolute... We didn't steal the result, and they didn't put out, their under-19s. They started, at least, with a strong squad, and we deserved the win. I will say, at the moment we were 3-0 up, we had 3 shots on target, but eventually we went on to get quite a few more shots on target. We had higher XG. Possession was pretty similar. More clear-cut chances. They had quite a few half chances, but, we looked good. We did all right with a pretty young squad in there. So, yeah, I was pretty happy with that. If we look at the Real Madrid squad, Lewandowski, Coman, Sterling, Declan Rice, Gustavo Assunção, Kimmich, Alaba, Fuchs, Militao, Baku, and their backup goalkeeper VR. So still pretty strong, not full strength, but pretty dang strong. And Casemiro came on, scored a banger. So yeah, it wasn't like we're playing the under-19s. We played a strong team and we played well. So that was actually pretty encouraging. I would have liked to see more games like that, but we just couldn't schedule them. Obviously, once you're in a training camp, you can't schedule any teams that aren't in Brazil. So yeah, we just didn't have any time to schedule any games. We played this non-league Portuguese side. It was already scheduled friendly, beat them 18-0. But that's why I wanted to come back for Porto, because we've got Benfica pretty early in the season. And I didn't really want to come back for the first episode to be Benfica, because I feel like having to do all the transfers and all that, there wasn't time to do 2 games. And I wanted to show in our first game of the season our 4-3-3 with all our young players. And I don't feel comfortable playing that away against Benfica. Obviously, I'm going to try to develop this team as much as I can. So I'll play a lot in the league, but I still want to beat Benfica. So I still want to put out a strong squad. I want to do well in the league because mostly I just want to keep my job. So yeah, I'm going to be playing a strong squad against Benfica. So I didn't really want to come back for that one. But the Supertaca, we haven't actually shown it before, I don't think. And, it's against a good team. It's in a competition I don't really care about, and I don't think the board care about. So I'm willing to play the 4-3-3. I'm willing to play some young players. And so that's what we're going to see today. So the squad we're going with, not all the young players, because I want to play players that needed match sharpness still. I've got some young players that are going to be in and around the first team that are already match sharp. And so some of them I've also allowed them to play for the B team because they were already match sharp. Guys like Angel Quintana, guys like Gonzalo Balanta. Actually, no, he's not match sharp. I guess it's just mostly just Quintana. Oh, Anicic being another one. Oscar Gonzalez, another guy we're going to really play a lot at striker this year. He's also match sharp. So some of those guys aren't going to be in the team. Inacio, Gonzalez, Ruan. So I've put in some backup players, but it's still pretty similar to the kind of squad we're going to be playing for the most part this year. So we've got Sesko up top with Thiago and Tomas. We've got a midfield of Nunez, Polina, and Guilherme Santos. Bergancha is going to be playing left back today. Tellez is still here, but he's leaving like in a day. So he's going to be leaving very soon. Franjic and Ampadu at center back, Gusto at right back, and Harazo in net. And on the bench, that leaves us Dyer, Weigl, Nuno Santos, who might be leaving the club. I said that's kind of the kind of player I'd be willing to leave, and he actually came to me saying he wanted to leave. He thought he achieved everything he could here. He wanted to go. And so we've agreed if I get an offer of $22 million, I will sell him. So he could possibly be leaving, which considering we just lost a left back, and to make matters even worse, Jim Rivera literally a day ago broke his ankle. And he's out for 2 to 4 months. Awesome. So we kind of need Nuno Santos, but if we get an offer like that, I kind of have to sell him. He's a team leader. I don't want him to be upset. Other players on the bench, Tabata, Sensi, Ugarte, and Daryl Dike, who we'll see a little bit of, but not nearly as much as previous seasons. So I'm actually excited to play a competitive match. The last 2 seasons with our disappointments in the Champions League, I'd started to lose hope a little bit. It just wasn't quite going to plan. It wasn't working like I kind of thought it would in my head. And so, I got a little bit pessimistic. I didn't really see what the future would look like in a positive way, at least. And then, I came up with this idea for the tactic, bringing these kind of players, these young, high potential, dynamic players into the team. And now I'm kind of excited again. I think we've got a little bit of hope. And we will be playing this 4-3-3. We've actually got two different varieties. This is the one we'll be playing in the league, where we'll be the better team most of the time. We'll look to control possession a little bit more. Look to play a little bit lower tempo. A little bit, like I said, holding onto the ball, playing a higher line. And a little bit more attacking with our wingbacks. Midfielder pushed up a little bit. And then we've got our Champions League one, which I'll play in most Champions League matches, unless we get like an absolute minnow. But this one that's a little bit more defensive. Balanced mentality. Midfielder drops down. The wingbacks go to support. And some of the instructions, we go from a low tempo to a high tempo. Kind of play like we had with the 4-4-2 diamond. A little bit more counterattacking. A little bit more looking to create as many chances as we can. I like the possession style, but when you're playing good teams, I just feel like for the most part, it doesn't create enough chances. And I do feel like this kind of tactic, these instructions, will create chances, even when we're playing some really good teams. So this is our Champions League one. But today we're playing our League one. So we'll see that. Hopefully it'll work because all this excitement, all this optimism can quickly be dashed if we get destroyed 4-0 by Porto today. The fans have been fantastic for us. They're the ones who really pay your wages. So go out there and win this trophy for them. Is a win in the Supertaca of exceptional importance, or is it the kind of match you go into without too much pressure to achieve a result? I hope we can add another trophy to the collection. Give the fans another reason to celebrate. Pedro Gonçalves isn't in the squad today, but isn't injured as far as we know. Why is he out? Simple case of squad rotation. That's something I try to do when I can. Alright, so our squad, playing our 4-3-3, Thiago up top, Jaime Santos, Horazo, and let's see the Porto squad. Are they playing full strength? Looks like they are. Mehdi Taremi, Tony Martinez, Torreira, pretty strong squad. And Mbimba playing center back. They got Hysaj. I think he's a new signing for them at right back. So it's not going to be easy, but it depends on which Porto we see. If we saw the Porto that played in the league last year, gave us a fight till the very end, or if we see the Porto from the 2 or 3 years before that who were kind of malazing and settling for a comfortable third place finish, then it'll be a little bit more convincing. But I'm hoping for a good performance. Like I said, I've got a lot of optimism coming into this game, and I would like to keep that. Malagusto on the ball, looking to attack about 12 minutes in. Does very well to get space. Going to find Tomas, who hits the crossbar. And Porto are going to have a throw-in. Down this left-hand side for them. Riquelme on the ball. Going to be hassled. Forced to go back to his goalkeeper. Very bad ball out. And Bruno Thiago is very, very offside. Yeah, I think I'm pretty sure he was offside by possibly a mile. Maybe a mile and a half. Actually, it's closer than I thought. I did not see this Riquelme down there. I saw the center backs. I thought he was off by a mile, but that was actually a lot closer than I gave him credit for. Porto is probably one of the last highlights of the half, if not the last highlight of the half. They're going to start, going down this right-hand side. Yanka Bianco on the ball. They look to go inside to Torreira, and Arambi ball back. I think that back to Yankto it was, and Horazo makes a very good save. They're going to see the corner, though. We've been pretty decent from corner defense. If you exclude that Barcelona match, but we had this one away, Franjic to the near post, and that's probably going to be the end of that highlight, and probably the end of the half. Got, a minute added on, and we're not going to see it. So we go into halftime, 0-0, but we have been the far superior team so far. It looks like formation be damned. We just still cannot freaking score, no matter how many chances we get. If we can get a goal, I make us favorites to win. Go out there and make it happen. To do that, though, we're going to have to be more clinical. We had a decent number of chances that first half, and we didn't take any of them. We have to be doing better in those situations. 67 minutes in, we're looking to attack. Sesko on the ball. It's going to go back to Guillermo Santos, who goes right back to Sesko. We've had a fair number of chances to start the second half, and still haven't really seen much. Guillermo Santos on the ball. It's going to find Sesko again. One thing is, I pause this. One thing I've thought about with this tactic is, having Sesko out on the right-hand side. Obviously, he's going to be getting to the byline. He's going to be going wide at times, looking to put in crosses, which, when he's your 6'5" monster, maybe he's not ideal. But I don't think there's never going to be a right answer for every situation. Because, obviously, in these kind of situations where he's going down the byline, looking to put in crosses, not ideal. But if we're doing it down the left-hand side, then we've got Sesko at the far post, usually marked by a left back, which very advantageous. So I think we're just going to take some of the good with the bad. So I think this is kind of the right choice to make, as apparently he's a very good crosser. Because he finds Thiago Tomas. Not much size there, but he wins the header. If he was onside, then we're going to get our first goal, and deservedly so. And he was. Let's talk about Sesko not being ideal, crossing the ball in, and it's the first way we get our goal. A Benjamin Sesko cross to Tomas at the back post, and he's the one to head it in. And 68 minutes in, we take the lead. Well, apparently, our injury bug didn't end when the last season ended, because just 75 minutes into the first match of the season, Bruno Thiago, kind of the main man that we're really hitching our hopes to up top, is injured. A groin injury, and he's going to have to go out. So DK is going to come in, and I think with that, he's going to go out wide, and Tomas is going to go through the middle as he advanced forward. DK obviously got more size to him. I think can do better as that complete forward than Tomas has. Even though Tomas, has the attributes to be able to do it. Not necessarily the size, but 5'11 is not short. 12 jumping reach, 12 heading. Just not a passer. So I think he is better through the middle. But I would like to have Bruno Thiago available. 80 minutes in, we've got a highlight. Porto with the corner. Going to put it in. Sesko's going to head it out. And they're going to get it up again. Manafa going to go back to Riquelme in a lot of space. And he finds Yankto at the back post. But first thought, I think he's off. But who knows? We'll see. Hopefully he's off, because I don't really want them to score a goal, and they haven't. Goal is disallowed. I thought he was off, and he was. Riquelme was onside, but Yankto, not significantly, but he is definitely offside. And with 5 minutes of added time, it looks like we just might hold on for the win. But hold on, we have another highlight. 4 minutes left, a little over 3 minutes left. Tomas, is he onside? If he is, that is some terrible defending by Porto. But in the end, it doesn't matter because he blazed it over. But that still should be it. Looks like we're going to get the win. And we do. We've won the Supertaca for third or fourth straight year. I think we've won it. I think we lost it the first year. But everyone after that we've won. And we win it again this year. Beating Porto 1-0. Result, in terms of scoreline, not convincing. But performance, pretty convincing. Did well maintaining possession. And we created a fair few chances. Still a little worrying that we're not taking those chances, but gotta hope it's gonna come. Well done on winning a trophy. Success is always important, and a pretty solid performance to boot. Obviously, there's some things that we have to, need to, and will be working on, but there's a lot of season to do so. Do you know why Bruno Thiago found it so hard to take his chances today? To miss those chances in the first place, you have to get into the positions, and I'm happy with that. The goals will come. Do you have any news on Bruno Thiago's injury? Please don't be bad. A month. Groin strain, 2 to 4 weeks. Usually it's closer to 3 once you send him to the physio or whatever, so not ideal, but at least it's not a multiple month injury. I don't have all the information, but I'm hopeful he'll be alright. That makes it 3 straight years we have won the Supertaca. Bruno Thiago confirmed out 3 to 4 weeks, and Gusto man of the match. He's been so good for us. I couldn't be even any happier with the signing of Malo Gusto. He's even better than I expected. Very good first game from him. Now when we come back, it's not going to be too long because we got Benfica coming up. We got to show Benfica away from home. No doubt in my mind. And I think to pair with that, probably Braga. I think we can play that 4-3-3 against Braga. I think at home especially, I think we'll be all right. Braga are a pretty decent team. I think they finished 4th last season. They were like 4th or 5th the season before that. So they're definitely a European challenger in the league, but I still think at this point we're good enough. We can play that 4-3-3 and do all right, especially at home. So we'll see Braga and Benfica for next episode. Champions League group stage will be drawn pretty soon. Excited to see who will get there, but I'll see you next time for Braga and Benfica. If you made it this far, why don't you like the video, subscribe, and click the bell. The links to all my socials and my Twitch are in the description. I really appreciate all your support. Thank you all for joining me, and I'll see you next time.